Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's just 10 o'clock now, or just 1 minute past. If I could ask you all to just be a little bit patient with us. We're expecting a really, really big crowd this morning, and we still have quite a few people who are joining. So if I could just ask you to bear with us for another couple of minutes, just to give everyone an opportunity to see the presentation from the start, and we'll get things underway. Thank you.
You do realise, John, I can't do it with long silences, don't you?
You'll be fine. It's just another minute.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, so good morning again, everyone. My name is John Clifford, Group Marketing Director with Gaudi, and have been responsible, I suppose, for organising and facilitating this morning's session on introducing PXMSOFT, org chart and modelling. Just going to do a little bit of housekeeping just before we get things underway. This morning's session will be recorded, and please feel free to reach out after the session if you'd like a copy of the recording. That's something we're more than happy to share with you. Also, I suppose typically when we do sessions like this, we try to make them as interactive and as engaging as possible. So I would encourage anyone who's any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat box, and again we'll address as many as we can at the end of the session. There will be a Q&A session which will be facilitated by myself. I am delighted to be joined by two of my colleagues. Firstly, Andy Hodges, who's our Group Sales and Marketing Officer, and he's based in London, and also the man of the moment, Jacob Stiergaard Saracen. Jacob is based in Copenhagen and is also the responsible, I suppose, for developing and bringing this new solution to market. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of what we're going to cover this morning, and we'll get straight into it. So I'm going to ask Andy just to talk a little bit about Gaudi Group and who we are as an organisation, for those of you who may not be familiar with us. Then it's really over to Jacob, who's going to give you, I suppose, an introduction into what is PXMSOFT, but more specifically, the solution itself, org chart and modelling. It'll be followed up by a product demonstration where you'll get to physically see, I suppose, what the solution looks like. Then I'm going to pass it back to Andy. He'll just talk a little bit about the commercials in the sense of what the offering actually looks like. Jake will talk a little bit about, I suppose, a real-life case. He'll talk about the co-innovation that we've done in regards to how this, I suppose, all came about. We'll talk a little bit about the key takeaways from this morning's session. And as I said, we'll also facilitate a Q&A session at the very, very end. So on that note, I'll hand it over to you, Andy, and you might give our audience this morning just a quick overview of who we are and what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And yeah, you know, to be honest, I'm going to keep this blessedly short. But for those of you who don't know us as an organisation, I guess we kind of top line bill ourselves as a total workforce management organisation because we cover a range of solutions. Our background DNA really is in HR and payroll. And for the large part of our 25 years in business, we've been doing SAP solutions. But as you can see there, we also have expanded those mainly due to customer request. Actually, we're a customer-driven organisation, so we've gone into ServiceNow. So we deliver ServiceNow HR. We also do a product called Litmus, which is a smaller learning solution. SAP Concur, S/4HANA, and you can read the rest. I think one of the key things about this is that having been in business for 25 years successfully, with over, wow, it must be over 600 successful deployments or even just SuccessFactors. What you do as an organization is, and then bearing in mind, I'm head of sales and marketing in the company across the group, and I'm an ex-consultant. That shows you our approach to sales. It's a very consultative approach to sales, and it's the same with our products. So we've worked with customers. We understand process as much as we understand technology. Some of us come from an HR background. And what you do is you look at when you deploy the solution and you say, there are gaps in this. There are gaps, fundamental gaps, which are creating business challenges. And Jacob and his team really have been developing over a number of years. Actually, it's probably one of the best kept secrets in Gaudi PXMSOFT, is developing products that are meeting these gaps. They're bridging the gaps and delivering really, really strong business benefits. The one we're going to look at today is, I've been doing this for long enough to know Nikisa. Maybe there's a few other people that know Nikisa in the organization. And it dominated the market back in the SAP on-prem days, because not only could you chart the organization, you could model it or remodel it before you actually do it. And that's a wonderful solution. And I think Jacob and his team done a fantastic job of developing that capability for SuccessFactors organizations, and developed it on the SAP Business Technology Platform. Why does that matter? It matters because then you've got this seamless integration with your current landscape. And that's really important, because we know that integrations can be a potential banana skin. So, we've worked with lots and lots of customers over the years. You can see, I'm not going to drain this slide. You can read it yourself. We do the full range. But for us, this meeting the gaps for our customers and wider customers is really important to us. And I think that's why this is going to be a great session today. As head of sales and marketing, obviously, I'm very keen that we develop the lioness with our existing and customers outside of Gaudi. And so thank you for joining today. And John, I'll pass it back to you now. Thank you.
It's great, Andy. Thank you so much. So I'm going to hand it over to Jacob now. Jacob, mightn't be any harm, actually, if you give the audience maybe just a quick intro about who you are, talk a little bit about experience, and I suppose ultimately how you came about to heading up PXMSOFT.
Yes, of course. Thanks, and hello, everyone. My name is, as John said, Jacob. I'm unfortunately not located in Copenhagen, but in the part of Denmark called Jutland, but Denmark is a small place, so we all pretty close by. I've been in Gaudi for 13 years, meaning that I've been part of the same transformational journey as I guess most of you customers has been undergoing, from an on-prem with SAP moving into SuccessFactors as a cloud offering, and working primarily within the SuccessFactors space for a number of years. One of the things that we realized looking at SuccessFactors as an offering is that it's a really, really great offering for the majority of the processes that our customers run. But as Andy said, there are gaps, and there are fundamental gaps within the solutions, the solution offerings from SuccessFactors that are not being met by SuccessFactors, and where there are no immediate plans to meet those needs, and that is exactly the reason for bringing PXMSOFT as the company I'm heading about. It's exactly to bridge those processual or functional gaps within SuccessFactors. So in short, PXMSOFT is the entity within Gaudi where we develop extensions on top of SuccessFactors. So we are uniquely working with SuccessFactors, and we are uniquely working on top of the technology platform from SAP called BTP. So what we are going to look at today, and for the other of our product offerings, they are, let's say, tailored around the SuccessFactors work case scenarios. The product offering that we have on shelf right now, and I see some of the customer names in this call, is our document management solution, which is a comprehensive document generation and archiving tool that basically takes care of one of the essential shortcomings of SuccessFactors, and that is how do you handle contracts, how do you handle customer documents. There we have a fully tailored and built solution to handle exactly that scenario, creating a document, archiving a document within HR. Then we have a solution called PXMSOFT Certified Comply. It's been a child with many names. It's been called Gecko early on and had different names in the past. Essentially, this solution focuses on skills and competencies primarily within a operational or blue-collar environment, but could be used with outside those boundaries. But essentially, license to operate, audit controls, and making sure that those doing the day-to-day tasks do have the right skills and qualifications to do exactly what they do. Again, a shortcoming within SuccessFactors, where there obviously are tools to handle competencies and so on, but those tools are very focused around a white collar or more shared service scenario. And then we have our recruiting solutions that are extending the functionality for recruiting in three different ways. It's primarily ensuring that frontline personnel are able to handle recruiting, that is managers on the shop floor or managers in the factory that can run the recruiting process. And on top of that, we have a solution that improves the candidate's experience within SuccessFactors. Again, trying to bridge specific gaps within the solution without overcomplicating stuff. So if there's any interest in any of these tools or extensions to SuccessFactors, please do reach out. And with that being said, the next small half an hour or so, we will be looking into the newest kit in class, and that is our org chart and modeling tool. Essentially, again, we're looking at a piece of functionality that supplements SuccessFactors and not a standalone functionality as such. Within SuccessFactors, there are today fairly robust tools to work with the visualization of your organization, but these tools are quite static. They lack the operational flexibility to allow those working with the data to create their own views on the organization. And that is exactly the focus point of what we're looking at today, the flexibility of both providing the insights needed for you to tailor the needed requests for the organization, but it also supplements the solution with the modeling element, allowing anyone with the right accesses and the proper need to model the what-if scenarios of the organizational future. So, what if we need to move around within the organization? What is the outcome of that? So that is what we're looking at today, at a fairly high level point of view, but hopefully it'll give you a sense of what the tool is capable of transforming within your organization. I will be working with a set of what we call personas, trying to put this into a understandable context for you. So first of all, I'll start looking into the organizational insights or the org chart view and what that entails. Then I'm looking a bit at the modeling and then a sneak peek at how this tool is controllable and configurable from a administrative point of view. So if I'm lucky, I still have I wasn't lucky. You know how it is. SuccessFactors times out. I need to go in again and just make sure that we have a live session. So hopefully what we are seeing here is familiar to most of you. So we are working in SuccessFactors. We're working in a normal SuccessFactors environment with all the different data points and so on, like you would have in your environments most likely. What we've then built within our tool is an extension put on top. As said, the first part that we will be looking at is our org charting, our visualization. It can be accessed in any number of ways. In this scenarios, we've simply built a card, but you can embed it within SuccessFactors however you want. Looking at the visualization of the data, we are currently offering two solutions. We're offering an employee chart and a position chart, basically supplementing what we also have in SuccessFactors today. The employee chart obviously looks at your organization from a employee point of view, where the positions takes the view of the positions. I'll start by looking into how the visualization from and maybe this session also died, so I need to start another one, sorry. So let's jump into it. Guys, let's see if anything is wanting to work with us here. I think I might have lost the session completely. Yeah, so here we have the employee view, and what it allows me to do is to create different views of the organization. So in this point of view, I have a card. The card is this box. This basically gives the set of data that has been predefined administratively. So what you'll see here is the data coming from SuccessFactors, so fully embedded within SuccessFactors. So this concept is called a card. What we are able to do with the cards is to control what data we want to see in the cards. And this is again something that anyone working with this in this tool is able to do if with the right permissions and so on. So you can choose, if you have a population of many external employees working, you can show them, or you can choose not to see them in this view. You can control the features of the card. So if you don't want to see the photos, if you don't want to see the header, if you don't want to see the subheader, you can control that as well. And then lastly, you can control, and this is where the flexibility comes in, you can control what data that you want to see within the card. So what has been configured for this scenario is a number of different fields, all coming from SuccessFactors. And depending on the need that you might have, you can choose to switch these data points on. This provides a level of flexibility that you don't have in SuccessFactors today. If you are to sort of work with this data, you need to go different places to get this data activated. On top of this, that if you need to share this information in any way, you can also structure and group the data in logical components. So you allow a more visual visualization of the data that you're working with. And then obviously you can navigate throughout the organization just as you know from in SuccessFactors, so you can navigate up and down and have specific views on specific sets of the data. Besides this, we also have a functionality that we call views. These are basically different scenarios that has been predefined for specific needs. For this case, we have a view where we focus on a UK scenario. We also have a view where we can focus on a global assignment scenario. So these views compromises or takes an outset at specific points within the organization. Besides this, we also supplement the data with what we call tags. So as you can see here, we have our assignment Eddie, the lady here called Eddie, and she's dormant. The reason why we have this tag is because using the data from SuccessFactors, we've given a visual component that allows anyone navigating this chart to see what's going on. So we're taking the data from SuccessFactors and then saying with the data, we want to visualize different elements. So if we look at our UK organization, I've simply created a tag allowing anyone to see that these are UK employees. But you could also have tags showing that these are shared service functions or whatever might be the case. Again, we're working straight directly on top of SuccessFactors. From a search perspective, you can obviously search users within your scope of access. You can also search on the job titles and different views within the organization that is relevant from a searching perspective. Here we have another scenario of attack where we've just highlighted for anyone using the data that this lady is on a short-term assignment and she's a UK employee. So this level of visualization gives a much more detailed insights into your structure. Besides this, you can obviously export the data to whatever use you might have. You can export it into PDF. You can export it into an image that you can then use in a presentation. So the export functionality is quite extensive. One of the things that I personally like a lot is the ability to export into CSV. So we get to a point where we almost get a really light reporting possibility within the tool. So by exporting into CSV, we then have a tool that actually gives us an insight into the organization in a much more, let's say, user-friendly approach than you would be seeing with ad hoc reporting or others. And obviously, this data can then be shared with your shared service department or HR operational teams. The other side of the equation, as mentioned, was the position chart, and that gives us a visual representation of your positions. Basically the same scenario, but now the card is tailored around a position. You still have the option to control the data that goes in, and there's no limitations to this. If you have custom MDFs or whatever, you can really tailor around your different needs. You can tailor these different scenarios if you want to show talent data on a position, if you just want a basic view, an extended view, or whatever. So this gives an insights into to your position view, and we will be coming out also with a department view and other things that will supplement this. The coloring and the logos and so on is something that you can control freely, allowing you to have a much more branded experience representing your organization than what SuccessFactors allows. Yeah. So the other part that I'll then be turning to now, and I need to make sure that we have a fresh session, is our modeling. In modeling, what we want, or what I want to take you through, is basically a scenario where I, as an HR executive, would like the ability to model an organization into, if based on a what-if scenario, that then subsequently allows the HR organization to make the necessary changes. For this demo, I want to do two different things. I want to start a draft. A draft is the, let's say, canvas that whoever has this access can play with and remodel how your future organization would look like. So I'll start this scenario by creating a draft. And what I want to do is I want to restructure HR into a shared service function. I want to do this based on a position restructuring. Again, the cards and the charts here are the same as we just saw. So this would be a position restructuring. And then I'm working with the same views as we saw before. So the data that I want to have available is already restructured or already structured for my usage. What these different views also control is whether or not my chart would be, or my draft here would be a shareable draft. So if I choose the extended view, you can see I can share this afterwards. If I choose, for instance, the basic view, it won't be shareable. So all of these details is something that can be controlled from a configuration point of view. Then a description of what it is that I actually want to do. In case I'm sharing this one, it's important information. And then I set a date controlling when will this model take effect from, if it needs to take effect. Again, something that needs to be shared with HR if they are to make this reality within SuccessFactors. So choosing the 1st of March. And then we have this functionality if it's a scope draft or if it's a blank draft. So a scope draft means that I take an outset somewhere in the organization. In this case, I know I need to restructure HR. meaning I will search then on HR functions within. I know in this case that I need to restructure around my current manager in Denmark. And that is basically the initial input for the draft. So what is being created now is the canvas that I can then work on to make this draft into reality. So what we see here is the scoped outset for the draft, and then we have the positions currently belonging to this position, where I can see a lady called Patricia is sitting today. The challenge for Patricia is that she has really difficulties in hiring into a HR coordinator. I know the challenge is the same for our HR functions in the UK, so we want to consolidate them into a shared function. The first thing I do is that I unlock the chart, and then I find my HR functions within UK. I simply do that by searching HR, and I give an overview of all the functions, all the HR positions within the organization. I then drag my UK head of HR within UK into the chart, and what I want to do is I want to have this UK position being a subdivision of our to-be future head of HR. What I also know, as I mentioned, I know that Chris Crown has the same difficulties hiring into his organization. So Chris will have a number of vacant positions. And what I want to do from a modeling perspective is I want to actually close down a number of these vacant positions. I simply do that by deactivating these positions, allowing me to streamline the organization that I want to. What I also want to do is I want to move my HR admin, that is also a vacant position. I want to move that on par with my other functions up here. So I move my HR admin in, but I also see that this function or this position is vacant. But I do know that I have an HR admin sitting here, where that is actually already where there is already an incumbent sitting here. So I have an Ingrid sitting here. So what I want to do is I actually want to move Ingrid in to take this position instead, and then want to deactivate her current position. With that, I have a draft of an organization that I really like. I can then either export this one, send it off to HR shared service, and again, exporting into PDF, exporting to images. I said I have the same options to control the data within the different cards if I want to do that. What I do now is I lock the card, go back, and now I need to have my colleague Linda look at this specific draft before we put it into effect. So what I want to do is I want to share it with my colleague Linda. That will then be the one. Where did you go? That will then be the one that picks this up and works into finalizing the final draft. So by sharing this one, Linda will then be notified that now there's a draft for her to look at, and then she can continue the work on this one. So this was a structure or a drafting around positions, HR restructuring. I also know that I'm currently working on a restructuring of my sales and marketing organization. Here I have already started a draft. In this scenario, I'm drafting around user entities. For this case, it's Marta. And what I know that I want to do is I want to actually have Emma moving under our VP of Sales, Richard. Right now, Emma is working on the same par as Richard, but I want to have her referring into Richard. So what I do first is I detach Emma from the current organization, and then I move Emma into Richard's organization. I'm then being asked, do you want to basically load it with all Richard's current childs or only putting Emma in? And in this case, I only want to put Emma in. And now we have Emma referring into Richard. I also know that, sorry, this might be a bit too small. I also know that I want George to then move in under Hugh instead. And then I actually also want Rebecca to refer to Emma. So the first thing I could do is I could pull Rebecca in, but what I do notice is that actually Rebecca is on a short-term assignment because the system tells me so. So in this case, I actually don't want Rebecca to refer to Emma. So I'll simply pull Rebecca off my canvas, and then instead, and as you notice now, Rebecca is back in our work pool here. Instead, I actually want to have Patricia in. I can either just drag her in to the structure as is, or as you saw before, I could drag the employee in on the canvas and have a number of different scenarios to play with before I decide on the actual structure. There is an action log telling me that right now Jacob Hansen doesn't have a manager and Joe Horn doesn't have a manager. So you are notified on things as they move along. So this is a restructuring scenario where the outset is the user, and you have this very operational approach to restructuring whatever you want to restructure. Again, allowing you to export the data and share it with your HR organization. You have the same options as we saw earlier to add or remove fields within your cards, allowing you to get a much more granulated insight into what you see. And the search functions also apply within this overview as it does with the other scenarios. The last element that I have in place is a scenario where one of my colleagues has actually shared a draft with me. So this is an engineering UK structuring. And what this allows me to do is not anything different than what we saw earlier. It simply gives me the view or the draft that my colleague has created and allows me to work further on this draft, making sure that we get into an organizational state that has been agreed with the relevant parties within the organization. Yeah. So what we've just looked at, first the visualization, seeing how we put a different spin on visualizing what you have in SuccessFactors. We do that on the cards. That allows you a very flexible and agile approach to the data being shown. There's no limitations to the data that you can have in these cards. So if you have custom MDFs, if you have custom scenarios where you work with whatever that might be, those can be embedded within the cards. And then from the view perspective, you have the different scenarios that you can play with. And from a modeling perspective, as we just seen, you can model around positions and you can model around users. And you can share and make sure that these drafts and scenarios are being validated throughout the organization before they're put into effect. The outcome, and maybe that's important to say, the outcome of these restructuring scenarios is could be a CSV file that resembles your structure within SuccessFactors. So once you have a structure in place that you want to share with your HR operational team, you simply export a CSV file that can then be put into effect in the system. But right now we are working with this layer in between because we simply don't want to automate these changes too much because, I mean, as you all know, the devil is in the detail when it comes to these specific changes. So that's the scenario for that. The last element that I just want to touch upon from a system presentation point of view is how does this look from the administrative view into the system. I don't want to dive too much into it, but just give you a sneak peek into the dashboard supporting the configuration. So looking at the configuration, you can configure, as mentioned, the cards. Each of the cards will represent the configuration or the field configuration that you know from SuccessFactors. Just saying it again, no limitations as to the data that you're working with. You can fully control how this is to be seen by the end user working with these cards, as we call them. And the same goes for the positions and so on. So you could create talent views for positions, you could create project views for the positions and so on, and making sure that the data that you show in here is relevant for that. We have the views, and these views are, as mentioned, the different scenarios where you take specific views into the organization as you would like it to be. Filtering allows you to filter certain scenarios. So if you don't want inactive employees to show up, if you don't want contingent workers to show up, if you don't want different scenarios, we can simply put filters in that allows you to take those out. Modeling allows you to work with different changes within the organization. That was actually something that I forgot to show you. So once I moved, let's just take this again, so there's a context to this. Once I moved Emma in under Richard, what I want to do is I actually want to change her position title, or potentially even create a new department. So in this case, she's not a marketing manager. She could get a different title pertaining to her new position in the organization. And these different actions is something that you can control if you allow this or not within those working with the tool. Tags, as mentioned, is where you start visualizing the data in a different manner based on whatever comes from SuccessFactors. And then there are some essential settings that need to be in place where you set up the look and feel, the color, and so on for the solution, so it represents your brand identity. Yeah. And with that being said, I think that concludes the high-level demo of the solution, and hopefully you can see that it's flexible enough, it's operational enough to cater for a lot of different scenarios without sort of having to do too much change management, too much training. You actually allow your managers or executives or whatever to do the needed modeling or changes within the system that can then be put into effect in the system. The next thing I just want to give a short insight into is a case example. So we've been working, as Andy mentioned, with a global pharmaceutical company, getting this system or getting this solution into place. And their outset for the need has been the ability to restructure and draft future scenarios within the organization and then seamlessly work with SuccessFactors data, because obviously PowerPoint and so on gets you a long way, but it's hugely incompliant and it really doesn't work on the actual data in the system. This is where org chart modeling comes in. So a modeling tool and a user-friendly features that, in our opinion, simplifies the fairly complex task of designing a future organization. The modeling bit obviously supports for this organization the ability to visualize the changes, but also making sure that errors and compliance is being supported throughout the process. So it's not like you pull data out and then you sit and mingle around, or you create it on your own. You actually work on the data right away. And then obviously the charting part gives a more flexible, and for them, brand consistency has been important, but it's the flexibility to work with whatever data that you have in your tool that has been the driving force for this customer. We'll share this, and you can read a bit more into to what it's all about. So basically, in short, there's 5 key takeaways that is important to touch upon. With this tool, you maximize your investment in SuccessFactors. So basically, both your SuccessFactors investment, allowing you to do a much needed and fairly critical function within your HR tool, and that is the modeling, but it also increases and maximizes your investment into SAP BTP. Most of you will have BTP solutions, or not solutions, but the BTP platform already, and with this one we simply tap into that scenario. It's a cost-effective tool in the sense that we don't come with the same price tag as potential competing solutions. Hands down, we don't offer the same feature-rich solution at this point, but there is a quite ambitious roadmap tied to this. You can tailor the solution so it fits your specific needs. You don't need to tailor it around whatever SuccessFactors provides you, but you can actually tailor it to your organizational needs. As mentioned, we are quite ambitious and aggressive in our roadmap and in our developments. So we are continuously putting out new functionality. This is just the first step of the road. We will be putting analytics overlays and other different scenarios on top, and we would love you to be part of that journey, guiding our efforts in what makes sense from a real customer scenario. And as mentioned, that makes this a future-proof investment. This is the journey, doesn't stop here. We will be continuing growing this solution to make sure that we support the need of our customers. And with that being said, I'll hand over to Andy, who will take us a bit through the commercials, or at least the commercial model that we are currently looking at. So over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Jacob, and thank you for the demo. I mean, as everyone can appreciate, when you're doing live demos and live systems, it's the cutting edge really of where we are, but that's the way that we do things. And as Jacob said, we've got aggressive plans for these products and the gaps that they fill for customers, but we're also aware of the fact that we have to provide an attractive commercial offering. As I mentioned previously, we're a very solutions-oriented company, very customer-focused company, and unlike some competitors, we don't just focus on the subscription sale. We actually focus on the solution delivery sale as well. So we sell you what we can deliver, and we deliver to you what we sell, and that leads to happy customers. And that's why I think so many customers have come on this call today. So what we wanted to do was make an offer to you all. Everyone that's attended this webinar today, we appreciate the time that you've invested with loads of questions. I mean, lots. And John will have to try and find a way to manage that, because there's some fantastic questions in here. The first thing I would say is I would encourage you all, if you're interested, to reach out to us and get your own specific demo done, right? Specifically with your questions and your needs, etc., and really challenge our team as to how this works and what it does and what benefits it produces, because that will give you a really good business case. So what we're saying to everyone who's attended the webinar today, that what we're going to do for you for attending today is offer you a 3 months free subscription. So when you subscribe for a 12-month period, and that's a minimum, you'll get the first 3 months for free. There are no strings attached to that. It's a genuine offer, first 3 months free, and we're opening that offer to until the end of April. So just after the Easter period to the end of April, we'll make that offer to anyone that acquires and buys this particular module. Okay, so it does exactly what it says on that slide there, so I don't need really to talk about it or over talk it, but I would, again, I just repeat, I would reach out to us and get an individual demo and a meeting done with Jacob and his team to go through it in more detail. So John, because of the amount of questions, John, I'm just going to leave it there and hand back to you, sir.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, it's fair to say that we have been inundated with questions. We will start to go through them, but as Andy said, and to reiterate, I think there's a huge amount of interest, and we even saw that from the amount of people who've registered and attended, and the amount of questions. It's a little bit overwhelming, but what we will do, I think, is we'll gather all of the questions at the end of the session, and we will send them out to everyone who attended this morning. We'll have someone in Gaudi who will follow up with you also. I think it's also imperative, because I've been working with Jacob quite closely in regards to this for, I suppose, the last couple of months, is what you've seen this morning is we've just really scratched the surface, in the sense there is a lot more to it. And I would encourage people to, whether it be myself or Andy or Jacob, to reach out to us, and we will set up an individual session with your own organization where we can go into more detail. But I'm just going to spend, the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes trying to go through the amount of questions, and we'll just get on with it if that's all right with everyone. So Jacob, really good question from Sujata. And this again is, I think, one of the features or one of the value props for me anyway, is just the ability to be able to share reports. Can you export it into CSV? I think I can answer this one myself. Siju, yes, you can. CSV, PDF, JPEG, all can be done.
And then you share the drafts. And so from an operational point of view, I think you would share the draft if you're still working on it. And once it's done and dusted, you would then share the outcome in a CSV.
Right.
John, one thing from me, by the way, is what I didn't explain on my aspect is the commercial model. Could you explain the commercial model for everyone? It's based on number of employees, I think. Jacob, is that correct?
Yeah, currently it's actually just a tool with a fixed price. So we don't have a unit tied to it as such. So the price is the
Super.
price. Yeah.
Okay. Nice and simple. Okay. Thank you, sir.
I think I can complement that answer as well, Jacob. I think it's also to be aware this is also, as part of the price, we also include the cost of the implementation, the licenses, and support. And Jacob will keep me honest. I think I'm correct in saying that. So it's a bundled, so one price, you get the implementation and support of licenses and so forth. But back to the questions.
Comment on implementations is that there is essentially none. It's a SaaS service, so we can deploy in a matter of hours. And then
so yes, I'll reiterate that. You heard that here first. Jacob has just told me we can implement this in a matter of hours, which again, I think is pretty compelling. Back to the questions. Jacob, are there any predefined scenarios or business cases for viewing the structure? Good question from Melge.
Yeah, good. Currently, there's none, and the predefined scenarios is based on, let's say, the standard structures. If any predefined scenarios, it's based on the standard structures within SuccessFactors that you can work with. But creating these views or these scenarios is really a customer-driven exercise that we would obviously help in supporting. But you know your business better than we do.
Good question from Slantil. The org changes which we do in PXMSOFT org, how will it be updated in SuccessFactors? Again, I think I can answer this one in the sense that until there was biannual releases, just in conjunction, very similar to us was the SAP model. This solution will continue to innovate as we go along. Good question here from Hatis.
And maybe I missed the question, but I think maybe it was a different question. If I didn't, could you? Anyways, I think another answer could be that if I understood the question right, was that any changes that you do in org chart modeling, you will have to ship those over to HR operational. That will then import the changes into to SuccessFactors. So we currently don't support. We do have it on the roadmap, but currently we are a bit reluctant to just have a big red button saying commit changes, because then there are troubles or issues at least associated.
That was slightly dangerous as well, Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah, big red button. Oops.
Yeah. Good question here from Louise. Thanks for the question, Louise. Along with position and employee org, we're also looking at department org. Is this something possible?
Currently, it's not supported, but it's just on the around the next curve. That is definitely and obviously something that we also need to support. So, what we will be supporting is a, let's say, more comprehensive view of the organization, and departments is part of that, divisions and business units and so on.
Oh, nice feedback from Siren. Need to go. Thanks for the inspirational session. Thanks for attending, Siren. Lots of people looking for the recording and the presentation. Again, we're happy to share that with you. Going back to the questions, there's another one here. This is a question from, excuse me. This is from Michael. When we move position from one person to another, will the parent position also change accordingly?
Not sure I fully understand one position to another. So what you will parent position you will have in the CSV, and I don't know if that's the answer, but maybe it's close enough. You'll have the old values and the new values. So yes, in that sense, you will be changing the parent version. The parent position. Essentially, what I showed you with dragging a person between positions is exactly this scenario where your organizational structures are quite complex, and we can't just change a position without also having the ability to change the person sitting in that position, and those changes will be affected into the change log, as we call it.
There's a good follow-up question to that as well. It's just come up. Is do you need position management to use all chart and modeling?
You don't need it, but then obviously you are losing out on that element. Then it's your user-to-user hierarchy that you're working with, which is also perfectly fine. That can.
But position management's a good discipline anyway, isn't it? In any HR system.
Yeah. And yeah.
Another good question, Jacob. Is EC as an Employee Central or ECP a prerequisite for this tool, or is there a way to pull the data from an HCM on-premise using a data tool?
Right now, EC or SuccessFactors at least is a prerequisite, as the database supports that only for now. So yes,
but not ECP though. Not ECP.
No, ECP is not a prerequisite at all. No, EC.
Is there a possibility to look at org chart for a specific time in past or future by selecting date? Good question, Hannah.
Yeah, we can date control the changes within the org chart. So yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll leave you answer this one, Jacob. And this is another really good question, actually. And this one is from Stinus. Stinus said that he saw the search functionality. Is there search functionality? Is that a part of the offering?
Of course. Searching on job titles, departments, user IDs, employees, whatever. Yeah.
Right. What prerequisites do you need in SuccessFactors? Oh, sorry, we answered that one. Another question. This is a question as well, just about the portfolio. You mentioned document management solution. What does that entail? That's a really good question. It's from
that basically entail a wall-to-wall solution allowing you to create documents, HR documents based on the same data that we've just been looking at from SuccessFactors. Having those documents going through a process where you approve, sign, yada, 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 a workflow controlling all of that. And then end of the flow is that it ends up in an employee archive where it's compliantly stored and as accessible only based on the roles and the role-based permissions configured for the end users. So a full-fledged document solution within SuccessFactors.
All right. I'm going to take one last question. I'm just conscious of time. And this is a good question as well. This is from Rashid. Can you export to PowerPoint?
Yes, PowerPoint and any image that you can use. So yeah.
Great. All right, everyone. I think just to finish up, from my perspective, I'd like, I suppose, firstly to thank Jacob. I think he gave a very, very compelling story. think it's always interesting that you can gauge things by the amount of questions and the amount of attendees. Also, there is a huge demand for the solution. So, Jacob, thank you for showcasing us.
Yeah, welcome.
Big thanks to Andy as well for just going through the commercials and letting people know a little bit more about who we are as an organisation and so forth.
Sure.
As I said, we will be happy to share the recording, but I suppose just to reiterate, I think what you've seen in the last half an hour in the demo, we've really just scratched the surface. There's a huge amount more to this, and I would encourage everyone to reach out to one of us for more of a bespoke session. I'm going to hand it back to my colleagues just for, final note, maybe from you, Andy, first.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen obviously the amount of effort and work that's gone into this over the last couple of years or so, and the effort that goes into developing the other products. All I would tell you with any degree of certainty is that all of these developments are done from customer requests. They're not sort of things that we don't sit there doing blue sky thinking at Gaudi. We tend to be listening to our customers, really engage with them, understanding some of the gaps. So these gaps are being met because they're customer demands. And it's really important because typically it applies to probably 80 to 90% of all other customers using the same solutions. So that's the key bit. What we've tried to do is compete with some other organizations in the same space, of which I'm sure everyone's aware, but keep it at a really reasonable price point. I think the pricing model for charting and modeling is particularly keen because it's not done on a user basis or employee basis. It's done on a software basis. So that's a very attractive option, as are all the other ones around things like document management, for example. So that's where I would leave that. Anyone that's worked with us knows how we operate as an organization. We're very consultative. We're not pushy sales folk. Maybe we should be more pushy, I don't know, but I don't think so. We're very consultative in the way that we sell to customers, and ultimately it's about delivering a solution at the end. And that's the thing that keeps us going. That's the thing that keeps us motivated. So thanks everyone for joining, really appreciated. And I'll pass it back to Jacob for final words. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, and I think I just want to resonate and say thanks for everyone participating as well. I hope it first of all made sense, but I hope you can also see the value in us taking this approach. So just a big thanks for you taking out time in busy calendars to be with us.